A very good morning to all of you. Today we are continuing the physiology of vision, the next session. Earlier we have discussed the photochemistry of vision in the last class, followed by the color vision. Today we are going to discuss the neuroretinal circuit. The today's learning objectives for today's session are by the end of this session, you must be able to describe the intrinsic photosensitivity ganglion cell, that is the third type of photoreceptor cell, and the neuroretinal circuit of the retina. The visual pathway of the cones and rods, already we have discussed what are the different layers of the cones, rods in the retina. And we discuss the different layers, the 10 layers of the retina we have discussed already. What are the neurotransmitters released by the retinal neurons also, we must be able to know by the end of this. What is the electrotonic conduction? What are the horizontal cells? What are the depolarizing and the hyperpolarizing ganglion bipolar cells and amacrine cells and their function, and retinal ganglion cells, different types, X, Y, W cells, P and parvocellular and magnocellular cells, and on-off response, transmission of the light and the transmission of the color intensity. You must know by end of this session. The photoreceptors, so basically already we have discussed, most of the textbooks describes the rods and cones, and the third photoreceptor, the ray cell, is considered the intrinsic photosensitive ganglion cells, is the third photoreceptor cell. If you see in this diagram, these are the cones, these are rods. This is what we are describing, the intrinsic photosensitive retinal ganglion cells. This plays a very important role in the non-visual function, function of the circadian rhythm, the day and cycles, that plays a very important role in the circadian rhythm. This is the third photoreceptor. It contains the melanopsin, and you know the rods contains the rhodopsin, cones contain the photopsin. We have discussed in the earlier classes. There are three types of cones, S cones, L cones, and M cones. The photopigments you already discussed, the cyanolab, erythrolab, and chlorolab. Already we have discussed when we discussed in the color vision. We have discussed already. The two main types of photoreceptors are the rods and cones, named basing on their characteristic shapes. Already we have discussed in the earlier classes. The mammalian retina has the third type of light sensitive cell, that is called as the intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cell. It is a IPRGC. It is the abbreviated form of the intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cell. What are the characteristics of intrinsic photosensitive retinal ganglion cell? It is a very rare subtype of ganglion cell that express its own photopigment, is also called as melanopsin. The response to the bright light, it can respond to the bright light even in the absence of input from the rods, and these type of retinal ganglion cell, the third photoreceptor cell, can respond to the bright light even in the absence. It has two mechanisms. It gets the impulses from the rods and cones. That is one mechanism. That is it has a synapses, rods and cones, the bipolar cells. It gets the it is a non-image forming function, the intrinsic photoreceptor cell. It can be in the absence of rods and cones also, it can be stimulated. It contains the photopigment called as melanopsin. It is involved in the several non-imaging function of the visual system. The function of the intrinsic, suppose if you see this is a diagram done in the experimental in the room. Suppose this is the T0. This is the size of the pupil. This is the size of the pupil immediately after the initiation of the photo beam. Suppose if you see this the photo beam, it can directly, these are the intrinsic photosensitive retinal ganglion cells, and directly with the photo beam they can be directly stimulated, or it can create say weak photon emissions which are generated, and that also absorbed by the intrinsic will causes the stimulation of the intrinsic retinal ganglion cell. This is the one mechanism. Other mechanism, directly it has synapse the signals from the rods and cones, bipolar cells and the ganglion cells, where it receives the input the ganglion cell. That is a other pathway. Showing the retinal ganglion cell, the intrinsic and the photo beam. It can be stimulated by, already we have discussed just now, direct stimulation one, or the production of the ultra weak bioluminescent photons, which are also absorbed by the intrinsic photoreceptor ganglion cell. The stimulation of the rods and cones, the photopigments in the outer segment of these photoreceptor cells, also can activate by the synapses, the retinal neuroretinal circuit pathway. It gets even the stimulation from the other photoreceptors and receives the impulses from the bipolar cells and the ganglion cells. When it is excited, the intrinsic photoreceptor ganglion cells discharges the nerve impulse which travel through the neuron axons, specific brain targets such as even it controls the pupillary cell. It also plays an important role in the pupillary reflex also. This is if you see, as soon as the photon, it will cause the contraction of the pupil. This is the plays an important role. This is the spectral sensitivity. Under dark adaptation, the sensitivity of light depends mainly on the rods. Under the photo adaptation, the spectral sensitivity depends upon the cones. Already we have discussed in the dark adaptation and the light adaptation in the previous classes. Suppose if you see the characteristics of a intrinsic photoreceptor retinal ganglion cell, it contains a unique light sensitive protein called as a melanopsin. It is most sensitive to the blue part of the spectrum. It is most sensitive to the blue part of the spectrum. It depolarizes in response to the light, and if the stimulus is strong enough, they generate an action potential. This is the retinal ganglion cell is the only cell which can generate an action potential in the neuroretinal circuit. The remaining things are by conduction of the impulses by the electrotonic conduction. It is by the electrotonic conduction. To reach the threshold, the cells requires a very bright light, and several orders of magnitude of stronger than the threshold of the cone response. To get the direct stimulation of these cells, it requires a very bright light in compared to the several orders that of the compared to the cones. It takes seconds to respond. It responds within very fast, and it is quite faithful to maintaining the response. Even the light levels are sustained for the many hours. Even it takes, even though it reacts very fast, but it responds to these things for a continuous hours also. Suppose if you see this, these are the different S cones, the peak, the 420, and the melanopsin, the blue spectrum, where you have seen that 475, and this is the rods, and the M cones, the 530, and the L cones is the 560 nanometers are the different. It is in between the S cones and the rods. The melanopsin, the intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells, the third type of the cells. What are the functions of the intrinsic retinal ganglion cells? Their action is slow, and it maintains the response relative to the bright light. It seems to be well equipped for a report to a level of ambient day illumination. It plays an important role in the circadian day and cycles and the sleep wake up cycles also. The characteristics of the intrinsic retinal photosensitive retinal ganglion cells are they have the very large receptive field and their number is less and their action is sluggish and slow and sluggish. And these cannot be well adapted to the image forming of the function. That is the function of the they are not well adapted to the vision, the image forming function of the eye. In fact, these help in the mediate the variety of non-imaging function processes that are the reflexive and the subconsciously. They plays an important role in the pupillary light reflexes and the circadian day and cycle and the sleep wake up cycles. This is how the they go the retinohypothalamic travel go to the nucleus. These are the day and later the retinohypothalamic and goes to the suprachiasmatic nucleus of the hypothalamus. The functions of the intrinsic photosensitive retinal ganglion cells are they maintain the circadian rhythms. Most of the physiological process they send the axons to the suprachiasmatic nucleus and the hypothalamus. Ensures the circadian and day and synchronized with the light and dark cycles of the day and night. These cells mediate the pupillary reflex by sending the axons to the pretectal nucleus. These are they plays an important role in the circadian rhythm and the pupillary light reflex. The activity of these cells will be inhibited by the production of the melatonin by the pineal gland. These cells will be inhibited by the production of the melatonin by the pineal gland. They also provide the photonic information to the some of the brain's sleep wake regulatory mechanisms. These are the four functions. The one is the circadian rhythm, and the second one is the pupillary light reflexes, and it will be activities inhibited by the melatonin of the pineal gland. They plays an important role in the sleep wake cycles. Okay, let us see the neuroretinal circuit of the retina. Already when we discussed the different layers of retina, we have discussed the photoreceptors. The photoreceptors, just now we discussed, there are three types, but most commonly the rods and cones. The third type is the modified the type of a retinal ganglion cell. It contains the melanopsin. These rods and cones which transmit the signals from the outer plexiform cell. This is the outer segment where the synapse with the synapses of the vesicles of the rod and cone. The synapse with the bipolar cells and the horizontal cells. Suppose if you see in this diagram, the photoreceptors, the rods and the cones, they synapse with the bipolar cells and the horizontal cells in the outer plexiform. They forms the outer plexus. The synapses of these rods and cones, horizontal cells and the bipolar cells form the outer plexiform layer. The horizontal cells, they transmit the signals horizontally in the outer plexiform layer. The horizontal cells, they transmit the signals horizontally in the outer plexiform layer and to the bipolar cells also. They also synapse with the bipolar cells. Also, they transmit the signals in the horizontal direction and in the vertical direction also, the horizontal cells. The next cells are the bipolar cells. The bipolar cells. This is the horizontally, they transmit the signals horizontally and even they synapse with the bipolar cells in the vertical manner. The bipolar cells transmit the signals vertically from the rods and cones. They transmit the signals from the photoreceptors, rods and cones, and also from the horizontal cells to the inner plexiform. This is the inner plexiform layer where the synapse, the bipolar cells synapse the ganglion cells and even amacrine cells also forms the synapses. The synapse with the ganglion cells and the amacrine cells in the inner plexiform layer. the other cell, the hemicrine cell, they transmit the signals in the two directions. They directly from the bipolar cells to the ganglion cells. The hemicrine cells, they transmit the signals from the bipolar cells to the ganglion cells, or horizontally in the inner plexiform, like the horizontal cells in the outer plexiform layer. They transmit the signals in the inner plexiform layer. Within the inner plexiform layer with the bipolar and dendrites of the ganglion cells or to the other hemicrine cells. The ganglion cells, these are the important cells. They transmit the signals from retina to the through optic nerve to the brain. And another type, the sixth type of neural cell in the retina is the interplexiform cell. These cells transmit the signals in the retrograde direction from the inner plexiform layer to the outer plexiform layer. The specialty of the interplexiform cell is they transmit the signals in the retrograde direction from inner plexiform to the outer plexiform layer. These signals are inhibitory and they are believed to play an important role in the controlling the lateral spread of the visual signals by the horizontal cell in the outer plexiform layer. They plays an important role. They are inhibitory and they believe to control the spread of the visual signal in the outer plexiform layer that's spread by the horizontal cells. They play an important role, help in the degree of contrast in the visual image. The interplexiform cells, they plays an important role in controlling the degree of contrast in the visual image. This is the interplexiform cell. It has synapse with the interplexiform neurons and synapse with the horizontal cells, the inner outer plexiform layer. From inner plexiform layer, it is going to the horizontal cells that are present in the outer plexiform layer, and amidst the inhibitory action, it plays an important role in controlling the contrast of the image. There are so many number of cells present in the retina. Apart from these cells, we don't know what are the functions of their cells functions. There are multiple cells. Even today also, we don't know some of the cells. Okay, the visual pathway from the cones to the ganglion cells. The functions differently from the cones cells. Pathway functions differently from the rods pathway. Retina has the two types of pathways. One is the old type, another one is the new type. The cone pathway is the new type, and the old pathway is the rod type vision. That is the old pathway. But the retina has the both the old type of vision based on the rods, the old type, the new type based on the cone vision. The cones, because they are directly synapse with the bipolar cells and the hemicrine cells and directly to the single ganglion cells. This is seen in the macula, the foveal region, where they have each cone cell directly synapse with the one ganglion cell. The cones that are present in the foveal region are the slender compared to the present in the outer peripheral part of the retina. This is the cone pathway. This is the new pathway. The old pathway, it is only single ganglion cell where there are multiple rods are synapsing. The neurofibers that conducts the visual pathway from the cone vision considered as a larger than that conduct the conduction of the rod vision. The neurons and the neural fibers that conducts the visual signals from the cones are larger compared to that of the rod, and the speed is also 2 to 5 times rapidly compared to that of the rods. The visual information that transmitted from the cones are 2 to 5 times faster than the rods, and even they are larger than the cones. Nerve fibers that are conducting the impulse from the cones are larger compared to that of the rods. The cone pathway, the visual pathway from the foveal portion of the retina represents the new and the fast system. The visual pathway in the foveal region. The fovea is where the visual sensitivity, visual acuity, where it forms the new and the fast cone system. Suppose if you see in this diagram, there are three neurons directly: the cones, the bipolar cells, and the ganglion cell. But we have the some other cells, the amacrine cells, horizontal cells also present in the outer flexiform, and amacrine cells present in the inner flexiform layer. Okay. In addition to these things, you have the horizontal cells transmit the inhibitory signal laterally in the outer flexiform layer. The amacrine cells that transmit the laterally the signals in the inner flexiform layer. This is the cone pathway. The cone pathway, the cones, the bipolar cells, the ganglion cells, the cone pathway. And where you have the other cells, the horizontal cells, the amacrine cells, horizontal cells in the outer flexiform layer, and the amacrine cells in the inner flexiform layer. Now we'll come to the old system, the rod pathway. The neural connection for the peripheral retina, where the both rods are present, where you have the multiple cells. Suppose if you see this, the bipolar cells have the only one bipolar cells here is synapsing with the 1, 2, 3, 3 photoreceptors. Suppose if you see the central bipolar cells also is synapsing with the 3, and this one is synapsing the 2. When you look at the macular region, where it is synapsing in the only single cell. Okay, single cell. Okay, suppose if you see the center part, the 3 bipolar cells are shown in this picture, and only rods are present in the type of visual system in the many lower animals. In the lower animals, only rod system, the central system, where you have seen only rods are present in the many lower animals. The output from the bipolar cells passes only to the amacrine cells, which relay signals to the ganglion cells. Suppose if you see the horizontal cells, they are not directly going to the ganglion cell. They are directly not going to the ganglion cell. In the center, the 3 rods, they are synapsing with the one bipolar cell. This bipolar is synapsing with the amacrine cells. These amacrine cells are synapsing with the ganglion cells. In the pure rod vision, there are 4 neurons in the direct pathway: rods, the bipolar cells, the amacrine cells, and the ganglion cells. This is a indirect pathway, and compared to the direct, where they have the direct connections. When we see in this, where directly the cones are going to the bipolar cells are directly synapsing with the ganglion cells, and they have a lateral connection with the amacrine cells. When you see in the rod system, where they are not going directly, where they are going directly to the amacrine cells only. From amacrine cells, it's synapsing with the ganglion cells. In pure rod vision, there are 4 neurons. In the direct visual pathway, rods, the bipolar cells, amacrine cells, and the ganglion cells. In this pure rod vision, where you have the only 4 cells are present, where they are synapsing with the amacrine cells instead of directly bipolar cells, not synapsing with the ganglion cell. In the rod vision, cone vision, we have seen that they are directly synapsing. In addition, the horizontal, the amacrine cells connects the lateral connectivity. Suppose if this is the horizontal cells, they provide the lateral connectivity. The amacrine cells also provides the lateral connectivity. The horizontal in the outer flexiform, the amacrine cells in the inner flexiform. Suppose if you see the 2 bipolar shown in the peripheral retina circuit, they have both the rods and the cones. The outputs of the bipolar cells pass directly to the ganglion cells, and by way. So suppose if you see this type and this type, the rods and cones, one, the bipolar cell is directly going to the ganglion cell, and even it going through the amacrine cells, also synapsing with the ganglion cell. Even if you see this rod and cone, the bipolar cell is directly going to the ganglion cell. Even it is synapsing with the bipolar cell is the amacrine cell. Again, it's going to the ganglion cells. What are the different types of neurotransmitter that are secreted by the retinal neurons? Suppose if you look at the photoreceptor of the rods and cones, they release the glutamate at their synapse with the bipolar cells. The neurotransmitter that is secreted by the rods and cones is the glutamate. The amacrine cells secretes the 8 type of neurotransmitters, and all these 8 type of neurotransmitters are plays an inhibitory role only. The includes the gamma aminobutyric acid, GABA, glycine, dopamine, acetylcholine, and indolamine, all of which normally functions as a inhibitory transmitters. The amacrine cells secretes the 8 types. The rods and cones secretes the one neurotransmitter, that is the glutamate. It secretes the 8 types. All are inhibitory neurotransmitters. The gamma aminobutyric acid, GABA, glycine, dopamine, acetylcholine, and indolamine, all of which functions as a inhibitory neurotransmitters. The transmitters secreted by the bipolar cells, the horizontal cells, interflexiform cells are unclear. You must remember that the transmitter secreted by the bipolar, the horizontal cells, interflexiform cells is not clear. As we see, the amacrine cells with 8 type and the photoreceptors, rods and cones secretes the glutamate. But at least the hormone and neurotransmitters that are secreted by horizontal cells are the inhibitory transmitters. The transmitters that are secreted by the horizontal cells and the inhibitory transmitters. The transmission of the most of the signals of retinal neuron is by electrotonic conduction, not by the action potential. The impulse, the signal transmission is by the electrotonic conduction, not by the action potential. That is another characteristic. We have seen that when the photoreceptors are stimulated, where it becomes the hyperpolarized, not the depolarized. That is another difference. Already when we discussed the photochemistry of vision, we discussed it is a characteristic produced with the hyperpolarization. All retinal neurons conduct their visual signals by the electrotonic conduction. That is a important characteristic in the neuroretinal circuits. The only retinal neurons that transmits the visual signals by action potential are the ganglion cells. Already when we in the few slides before also we had discussed the only cell which transmits the impulse by the action potential is the retinal ganglion cell. Remaining cells by electrotonic conduction. They sense their signals all the way from the brain through the optic nerve, occasionally even in the amacrine cells also. The electrotonic conduction means direct flow of electrical current in the neuronal cytoplasm and the neuronal axon from the point of excitation to all the way to the output synapse. What is the electrotonic conduction? Is the direct flow of the electrical current in the neuronal cytoplasm and the neuronal axons from the point of excitation to the output of the synapses. This is the electrotonic conduction. Even in the rods and cones, when the hyperpolarization occurs in response to the light in the outer segment, almost the same degree of hyperpolarization is conducted by direct electrical current in the cytoplasm all the way to the synaptic body. Even in the rods also, whenever there is a hyperpolarization occurs in response to the light, the outer segment, the same degree of hyperpolarization is conducted by direct electrical current flow in the cytoplasm all the way to the synaptic body, and the synapses, the outer flexiform layer, where the synapses with the bipolar and the horizontal cells. When the transmitters from the rods and cones stimulate the bipolars or the horizontal cells, once again the signal transmitted from these inputs to the outputs by the electrical current flow only. Even the the transmitter, the glutamate released from the rods and cones, they stimulates the bipolar cells and the horizontal cells. Once again, the signal is transmitted by the conduction of the electrical current only. What is the importance of the, what is the difference, what is the advantage of this electrotonic conduction? The importance of electroconduction is that it allows the graded conduction of the signals, and but when it's action potential, it is where all are none phenomena, where the advantage of the electrotonic conduction and the importance of the electrotonic conduction is that it allows the graded conduction of the signal strength. In rods and cones, the strength of the hyperpolarization output signal is directly related to the intensity of the stimulus. The signals is not all or none. And when the action potential is obeys the all or none phenomena, as we would see in case of a action potential. This is the advantage of the electrotonic conduction. It allows the graded conduction of the signaling of the stimulus, and the strength of the hyperpolarization output is directly related to the intensity of illumination. That is signal. It is not a all or none phenomena. Then what is the lateral inhibition? The importance of the lateral inhibition is plays an important role in the enhancement of the contrast. Even when you see the sensory system also, the lateral inhibition plays an important role in localizing the point of the stimulus. Suppose if you look at the 2-point discrimination, to localize the where it is exactly stimulated, because of the lateral inhibition only you can localize the, suppose if it is diffuse, you cannot localize the where the stimulus as the stimulated. The horizontal cells connect laterally between the synaptic bodies of rods and cones, and also connect with the dendrites of the bipolar cells. Already we discussed that. The outputs of the horizontal cells are always inhibitory. The outputs of the horizontal cells are always inhibitory. All the even the neurotransmitters of the horizontal cells, even though we don't know what exactly it would be, but the neurotransmitters secreted by horizontal cells are inhibitory in nature. What is the lateral? This lateral inhibition provides the horizontal cells is the connection in the outer flexiform. Same phenomena of the lateral inhibition that is important in the other sensory system, help in the ensuring the transmission of the visual pattern with a proper visual contrast. This lateral inhibition plays an important role in the ensuring the transmission of the visual pattern with a proper visual contrast. The enhancement of the visual contrast by the horizontal cells, the visual pathway from the centermost part where the light strikes is excited, whereas the area side to its inverse. Suppose if it is a light beam stimulates, this is the excited area. It is surrounded by neither excited nor inhibited area, and surrounded by the inhibitory area. This forms the clear-cut contrast between the illuminated and the non-illuminated area, and where it helps in the plays an important role in the visual contrast of the dark and light of the image that are we see. Instead of excitatory signal spreading widely in the retina because of spreading of the dendritic and axonal flexiform layers, transmission through the horizontal cells stops the spread, provides the lateral inhibition in the surrounding area. Because of the inhibitory nature of these horizontal cells, instead of spreading the total spread of the excited impulses, inhibition stimulus, it will be inhibited by the lateral spread. It is inhibited by the horizontal cells present in the outer flexiform layer. This process is very essential for allowing the high visual accuracy in transmitting the contrast border of the visual image. This visual contrast and the lateral inhibition is very important in transmitting the high visual accuracy in transmitting the contrast border of the visual image. The lateral inhibition and the inhibition and is very important in essential for the high visual accuracy in transmitting the contrast borders of the visual image. Some of the amacrine cells also probably also provides the additional lateral inhibition, further enhancement of the visual contrast in the inner flexiform layer. In the inner flexiform layer, the amacrine cells plays an important role, and it acts also further lateral inhibition, and it provides the further improvement of the visual contrast in the inner flexiform layer. And what are the different types of bipolar cells? There are two types of bipolar. One is the depolarizing bipolar cell, another one is the hyperpolarizing bipolar cells. The excitation and the inhibition of the some bipolar cells also plays an on-off center role, and enhancement plays an important role in the contrast of the image. There are two types of bipolar cells present, providing the opposite they have a opposing effects. One is the excitatory, other one is the inhibitory signals in the visual pathway. One is the depolarizing bipolar cell, another one is a hyperpolarizing bipolar cell. There are two possible explanations for these differences. One explanation is that the two bipolar cells are entirely different types. One respond by the depolarizing, another responding by the hyperpolarizing in response to the glutamate neurotransmitter released by the rods and cones. The one explanation is by release of the glutamate, one responds by depolarizing, another responds by hyperpolarizing. Another possible explanation, the direct excitation of the rods and cones and others receive the signals indirectly from the horizontal crest. Another explanation, suppose it receives the direct stimulation, direct signal from the neurotransmitter from the rods and cones, where it produces the excitation, and suppose if it receives the indirectly from the horizontal cells, the inhibitory, through the horizontal cells, it is the inhibitory. Okay, the direct excitation, it produces the excitation indirectly from the horizontal cells, the inhibitory, it produces the inhibition. The depolarizing, the hyperpolarizing cells. The importance of this depolarizing and the hyperpolarizing bipolar cells. The importance is the half of the bipolar cell transmits the positive signals, the half of the bipolar signals transmits the negative signals, and these are used for the transmission of the visual information to the brain. The half of bipolar cells transmits the positive signals, of bipolar cells transmit the negative signals. These are transmitted to the brain. They provide the second mechanism of the lateral inhibition to provide the contrast and localization of the these are the bipolar cells provide the second mechanism of the lateral inhibition in addition to the horizontal mechanism. Even the other cell is the inner flexiform cell is a layer. The amacrine cell also plays an important role in the lateral inhibition. The cells immediately against each other. This provides the mechanism separated by the contrast borders in the visual image. Even when one border lies exactly between the two adjacent photoreceptors, the cells lie immediately against each other. This provides the mechanism of the separating the contrast borders in the visual image. Even the border lies exactly between the two adjacent photoreceptors. Because of this, two types of bipolar cells, the depolarizing and the hyperpolarizing, even the image, the border lies exactly between the two photoreceptors, also help in appreciating the contrast. In contrast to the horizontal cell mechanism, the lateral inhibition is operated by the greater distance. But the difference between the lateral inhibition from the horizontal cells and the bipolar cell is it operates in at a greater distance compared to that of a horizontal cells. Then what are the functions of the amacrine cells? There are 30 different types of morphological, histochemically, there are 30 different types of amacrine cells. Some are involved in the direct pathway from the rods and to cones to bipolar cells to the amacrine cells to the ganglion cell. Some amacrine cells respond strongly to the onset of the signal, some respond to the extinguishment of the signals, some place in a direct pathway in the from the rods to the bipolar emicrine cell, some respond to the onset of the visual signals, some respond to the extinguishment of the visual signal, some respond to the when the light is turned on off, by signaling the simply change in the illumination irrespective of the direction. Some American cells, they respond to the simply turn of either on and off irrespective of the direction. Some respond to the movement of the light. Some American cells are directional sensitive. The American cells are a type of interneuron cell that aid in the beginning of the visual signal analysis before it leaves the retina. The American cells plays an important role in the analysis of the visual signals before it leaves the retina. It plays a directional sensitive, light sensitive, and even it processes the visual information before it leaves the retina. Suppose if you see the rods and ganglion cells, each retina contains 100 million rods and 3 million cones and 1.6 million ganglion cells. There are about 60 rods and 2 cones for each ganglion cell. The ratio for each ganglion cell, there are for every 60 rods and 2 cones, 1 ganglion cell is present. In the central fovea, the ratio of cones to the rods is 1:2. Ratio of cones to the ganglion cell is 1:1. There are no rods in the central foveal region. In the foveal region, there are no rods. The ratio between the cones to the ganglion cell is 1:1. But when you look at the total overall, there are 60:2:1. For 60 rods and 2 cones, 1 ganglion cell present in the whole retina. And because of the ratio of 1:1, the cones to the ganglion cells explains the high degree of visual acuity at the central retina. In the central fovea, there are about 35,000 slender cones. The cones of peripheral retina are larger than the compared to the cones of the central retina. There are about 35,000 cones are present in the central retina, the fovea. There are no rods are present. Already we have seen when the discuss the structure of. This is how the central where the single cone bipolar cell, the ganglion cell. When you go to the periphery, the single ganglion they synapse with the multiple bipolar cells and the ganglia and the photoreceptor cells. In the peripheral portion of the retina, the rod's diameter is the 2 to 5 micrometers, and the cones is the 5 to 8 micrometers. Suppose if it take the center, it is a central cones are slender. It is only 1.5 micrometers. The central cones are 1.5, and the rod's diameter is a 2 to 5 micrometers, and the cones in the periphery it is a 5 to 8 micrometers is the diameter of the cones in the periphery. The central cones are center, it is 1.5 only, and the peripheral cones are 5 to 8 microns, and the diameter of the rods is the 2 to 5 micrometers in diameter. This is the low convergence field, it is the high convergence, this is in the center of the retina, and it is the peripheral retina. Suppose if you look at the peripheral retina, the characteristics, it is very sensitive to the light. Even a low intensity of light is also it is sensitive, because the rods are sensitive to the 30 to 300 times more sensitive light than the cones. Because the rods are 30 to 300 times more sensitive to light than that of the cones. And there are 200 rods converge on a single optic nerve fiber. That is another reason the peripheral retina even sensitive for the even the weak light. The signals from these rods submit to even give even a more intense stimulation of the peripheral ganglion cells and their optic nerve fibers, because of the become more sensitive, 30 to 300 times more sensitive to light, and the convergence of the 200 rods on a single ganglion nerve fiber cell. A single retinal ganglion cell will give the summate and give the intense stimulation of the peripheral retina and even at the low light. Suppose if you see what are the different types of retinal ganglion cell, the early studies in the cats, they described the three types W, X, Y cells based on the difference in the structure and the function. The W ganglion cell are 40% and the conduction is the slow velocity. Most of their excitation is from the rod cells only. They transmit by way of the small bipolar cells and the amacrine cells, and they have a very large receptive field, and they are sensitive to the directional movement. They are sensitive to directional movement. They have a large receptive field, and they slow and they are with the 40%. They are very important for the crude rod vision under the dark conditions. The W ganglion cells in the cats. The X ganglion cells is the 55% is the most abundant, and followed by the W ganglion. The least is the Y cells. The X cells are the small receptive because of their dendritic. They don't spread widely in the retina. They have a discrete location. They are responsible for the visual image. It is responsible for the W cells of the directional. And it is the W ganglion cells is for the crude rod vision. They receive the input from at least one cone, and they plays an important role in the color vision and the image. The X ganglion cells plays an important role in the visual image and the color vision because they receive at least one input from the cone. Then Y ganglion cells. The Y ganglion cells are the least in number. The W 40% and the X ganglion cells is the 55% and Y ganglion cells is the 5%. They are largest of all, and the velocity of conduction is also high. It is a 50 meters per second, and it is a faster, and they have a very large receptive field. They have a very large receptive. They respond to the rapid change in the visual images and instantaneously changes in the visual field. They rapidly respond to the rapid changes in the visual images and what are the changes in the visual field. They don't specify the great accuracy of the location of the event. They gives the clues at which makes the eyes turns towards the exciting vision. They give the visual clues and which makes the eyes move to the exciting vision. Suppose if you look at the primate retinal ganglion cells, there are 20 types of retinal ganglion cells, and two classes. Most important is the parvocellular and the magnocellular type. The magnocellular is M type and the P cells are the parvocellular type. Other one already we have discussed, the intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells already when we discussed the photoreceptors. So that is another type. Each respond to a different feature of the visual scene. The two general classes of the retinal ganglion cells that has been studied most extensively are the magnocellular and the parvo. As far as we have the 20 different types of primate retinal ganglion cells. The P cells are also called as the beta cells, also called as the mid-get ganglion cells. They are present in the central retina. They project to the parvocellular, the small cell layer of the lateral geniculate body of the thalamus. The M cells, also called as the alpha cells, are the parasol cells. They project to the magnocellular, the large cell layer of the lateral geniculate nucleus. That is why it is called as the magnocellular or the M, because it is the parvocellular, the small cells, it is also P cell. P cells are also called as beta cells. M cells are also called as the alpha cells or the parasol cells, which in turn relay the information from the optic tract to the visual cortex. This is the lateral geniculate nucleus. The light pink is the parvocellular and the blue is the magnocellular layer. This is the magno and the parvocellular layers of the of the lateral geniculate. The P cells are highly sensitive to the visual signal related to the fine details, and they are insensitive to the low contrast signals. The P cells are highly sensitive to the fine details, and it is sensitive to the different colors and insensitive to the low contrast signals. The M cells are highly sensitive to the low contrast signals, that is the opposite that of a P cells, and they are very sensitive to the rapid movement. When you look at the P cells, they are highly sensitive to the fine details and to the color, and insensitive to the low contrast signals. The M signals are highly sensitive to the low contrast stimuli, and they are highly sensitive to the rapid movement of the visual signals. The receptive field of P cells is smaller compared to the M cells. The P cells conduct impulse slowly compared to the M cells. The P cells are sensitive to the color stimulus, and M cells are not sensitive to the color stimuli. The response of P cells to the color stimuli is sustained, and whereas the response to the color stimuli is more transient. They are not sensitive to the color stimulus, and even the response is also more transient. The P cells are very sustained, and the P cells are less sensitive to the low contrast and the black stimulus and compared to the M cells. The M cells are sensitive to the low contrast and the black and white stimulus. The P cells for the color and the M cell for the low contrast and the black, and for the it is sensitive to the movement. The intrinsically photoganglion cell, the third ganglion cells, already we have discussed in detail. These plays in circadian rhythm and the day and night physiological changes. Already we have discussed in detail these cells. This is the intrinsically photoreceptor ganglion cells. The day and light retinohypothalamus into the suprachiasmatic nucleus of the hypothalamus. Then the excitation of the ganglion cells, the transmission of signals by means of the repetitive action potential. The spontaneous act to this ganglion cell with the continuous action potential, even unstimulated. They have a basic rhythm of 5 to 40 per second. These ganglion cells have a basic rhythm of 5 to 40 per second when even at the unstimulated. Also, the visual signals are superimposed on this basic rhythm, on the basic stimulus. On the background of many excited changes in the light sensitive respond to the contrast word, and this way the pattern of the scene is transmitted to the brain. Then what is the on-off response? There are many ganglion cells are specifically excited by the change in the stimulus. Suppose if you see the upper panel shows the rapid impulse for the fraction of second when the light is first turned on, but the impulse are decreased rapidly in the next fraction of second. This is the on when there is a rapid impulses fraction of second and light is turned off in the next second. This is suppose if you see the lower tracing, the ganglion cell is located lateral to the spot of light. The cell is markedly inhibited when the light is turned on because of the lateral. Suppose because here the light is turned on, here the because of lateral inhibition, here there is no impulse because of the lateral inhibition. The load in the ganglion cell located lateral to the spot of light. The ganglion cell present lateral to the spot of light is inhibited because of a lateral. When is excited, there is no, because of lateral there is no. Once it is off, again here again the cell present, the ganglion cell will be stimulated. Okay. When the light is turned off, the opposite effect occurs. Thus, these records are called as on-off responses because the turned off here you will see the impulses. Okay, this is called as on-off response. When the on, because of lateral illumination, there is no response here. When this is off, here there is a stimulation because of the lateral inhibition, on-off response. These are the bipolar cells on center because off center, depolarizing and hyperpolarizing release of these things. Bipolar cells. Already when we had, there were two different depolarizing, the hyperpolarizing response, on-off response. The opposite direction of these response of light is caused by depolarizing the hyperpolarizing cells, and the transient nature of this response is properly generated by the emitron cells, plays an important role in the on-off response. When a minute gnat flying across a vision is instantaneously detected, conversely, when the same gnat is quietly remains below the threshold of, suppose if it is stationary, we cannot detect because of it is below the level of detection of the threshold. When a minute is flying across in the field of vision, it is instantaneously detected. This is the retinal ganglion cells, bipolar cells. This is the receptive field. The field, receptive field surrounding, where it is only stimulating the receptive field in the center, the surrounding field. It is inhibited because of the lateral inhibition, because of the center is on, the periphery is off. Suppose center is off, the periphery is on because of this thing. The transmission of these signals depict the contrast in the visual field, and it places because of the this lateral inhibition, we can easily. The central photoreceptor is stimulated by bright spot of light, while one of the lateral receptors are in the dark. The bright spot of light excites directly through the bipolar cells. When directly through the bipolar cells, in fact, the lateral photoreceptors present in the dark causes one of the horizontal cells to be unstimulated. Suppose if it is a center, it is stimulated. Suppose if it is not stimulated, it is unstimulated by the because this unstimulates the horizontal cells. Therefore, this cell does not inhibit the bipolar cells, which allows the extra excitation of the bipolar cells, where the visual contrast occurs. The signals through the direct and the lateral pathway attenuate the one another, provides the contract enhancement. Because of this, suppose it is because the inhibition from this horizontal cells is not present, that is why you have the accentuation of one another and helps in the contract detection and the enhancement. And what are the transmission of the color signal by the ganglions? There are three types of cones already discussed. The S cones, L cones, M cones stimulate the same ganglion cells, and the signal transmitted to those ganglion cells is the same color spectrum. The signal from the ganglion cells plays no role in the detection of the color. Instead of, it is a white color in signal. The transmission of the color signal by ganglion. Some of the ganglion cells are excited with only one color of the cone, but inhibited by a second type. The frequently occurs, suppose if it stimulates the red by the red and inhibited by the green. Suppose it stimulates by the green, it is inhibited by the green. Like if stimulated by the blue, it is inhibited by the yellow. This is the already we have discussed in detail. This is color vision theory in the opponent. The transmission of color signal by blue cones. On one hand, is a combination of the red-green cones, both of which excited by the yellow. On the other hand, gives the reciprocal excitation and inhibition in relation between the blue and yellow colors. This is the diagram. Okay. With this, we'll conclude the today class. One color of cone excites the ganglion cell by the direct route through the depolarizing bipolar, whereas the other color inhibits the ganglion cell by the indirect inhibiting by the hyperpolarizing bipolar cell. The color contrast type of ganglion cell is excited by one color, but it is inhibited by opponent color. The color analysis begins in the retina. It is not. It is entirely function of the brain. Okay. Thank you.